All right, back with another quick one. Day six becoming more well read. Got to start doing these a little earlier. Um, Midnight again. I had some things come up, but either way, got to do it a little bit earlier. But then I got a quick one. If you've been trying to read more, just put up a chair, man. Let's get straight to it. Chapter 17, Icarus. What goes up? Let's come down. So flying high. The launch of the Macintosh in January 1984 propelled Jobs into an even higher orbit of celebrity, as was evident during a trip to Manhattan he took at the time. He went to a party that Yoko Ono threw for her son Sean Lennon, and gave the 9-year-old a Macintosh. The boy loved it. The artists Andy Warhol and Keith Haring were there, and they were so enthralled by what they could create with the Macintosh that the contemporary art world almost took an ominous turn. I drew a circle, Warhol exclaimed proudly after using Mac Paint. Warhol insisted that Jobs take a computer to Mick Jagger. When Jobs arrived at the rock star's townhouse, Jagger seemed baffled. He didn't quite know who Jobs was. Later, Jobs told his team, "I think he was on drugs, either that or he's brain damaged." Jagger's daughter Jade, however, took to the computer immediately and started drawing with Mac Paint, so Jobs gave it to her instead. He bought the top floor duplex apartment that he'd shown Scully in the San Remo on Manhattan Central Park West and hired James Freed of IMP's firms to renovate it, but he never moved in. He would later sell it to Bono for $15 million. He also bought an old Spanish 15 mil. Must have been a good investment. He also bought an old Spanish colonial style 14-bedroom mansion in Woodside in the hills above Palo Alto that had been built by a copper baron, which he moved into but never got around to furnishing. At Apple, his status revived. Instead of seeking ways to curtail Jobs' authority, Scully gave him more. The Lisa and Macintosh divisions were folded together. With Jobs in charge, he was flying high, but this did not serve to make him more mellow. Indeed, there was a memorable display of his brutal honesty when he stood in front of the combined Lisa and Macintosh teams to describe how they would be merged. His Macintosh group leaders would get all of the top positions, he said, and a quarter of the Lisa staff would be laid off. "You guys failed," he said, looking directly at those who had worked on the Lisa. "You're a B player. You're a B team. B players. Too many people here are B or C players. So today we are releasing some of you to have opportunity to work at our sister companies here in the Valley." Bill Agason, who had worked on both teams, thought it was not only callous but unfair. These people had worked really hard and were brilliant engineers, he said, but Jobs had latched on to what he believed was a key management lesson from his Macintosh experience. You have to be ruthless if you want to build a team of A players. It's too easy as a team grows to put up with a few B players, and then they attract a few more B players, and soon you will even have some C players. He recalled, "The Macintosh experience taught me that A players like to work only with A players, which means you can't indulge B players." For the time being, Jobs and Scully were able to convince themselves that their friendship was still strong. They professed their fondness to effusively and often their fondness so effusively and often that they sounded like high school sweethearts at a Hallmark card display. The first anniversary of Scully's arrival came in May 1984, and to celebrate, Jobs lured him to a dinner party at Le Monton Noir, an elegant restaurant in the hills southwest of Cupertino. To Scully's surprise, Jobs had gathered the Apple board, its top managers, and even some East Coast investors. As they all congratulated him during cocktails, Scully recalled a beaming Steve stood in the background, nodding his head up and down and wearing a Chelzar cat smile on his face. Jobs began the dinner with a fulsome toast. "The happiest 2 days for me were when Macintosh shipped and when John Scully agreed to join Apple," he said. "This has been the greatest year I've ever had in my whole life because I've learned so much from John." He then presented Scully with a montage of memorabilia from the year. In response, Scully effused about the joys of being Jobs' partner for the past year, and he concluded with a line that, for different reasons, at the table remember everyone at the table found memorable. Apple has one leader. He said, Steve and me. He looked across the room, caught Jobs' eye, and watched him smile. It was as if he were communicating with each as if we were communicating with each other. Scully recalled, but he also noticed that Arthur Rock and some of the others were looking quizzical, perhaps even skeptical. They were worried that Jobs was completely rolling him. They had hired Scully to control Jobs, and now it was clear that Jobs was the one in control. Scully was so eager for Steve's approval that he was unable to stand up to him, Rock recalled. Keeping Jobs happy and deferring to his expertise may have seemed like a smart strategy to Scully, but he failed to realize that it was not in Jobs' nature to share control. Defer- Deference did not come naturally to him. Deference did not come naturally to him. He began to become more vocal about how he thought the company should be run. At the 1984 business strategy meeting, for example, he pushed to make the company's central sales and marketing staff bid on the right to provide their services to the various product divisions. This would have meant, for example, that the Macintosh Group could not decide to use Apple's marketing team and instead create one of his own. No one else was in favor, but Jobs kept trying to ram it through. People were looking at me to take control, to get him to sit down and shut up, but I didn't. Scully recalled. As the meeting broke up, he heard someone whisper, "Why doesn't Scully shut him up?" When Jobs decided to build a state of the art factory in Fremont to manufacture the Macintosh, his aesthetic passions and controlling nature kicked into high gear. He wanted the machinery to be painted in bright hues like the Apple logo, but he spent so much time going over paint chips that Apple's manufacturing director Matt Carter finally installed them in their usual beige and gray. When Jobs took a tour, he ordered that the machines be repainted in bright colors he wanted. Carter objected. This was precision equipment, and repainting the machines could cause problems. He turned out to be right. One of the most expensive machines, which got painted bright blue, ended up not working properly and was dubbed Steve's Folly. Finally, Carter quit. It took so much energy to fight him, and it was usually over something so pointless that finally I had enough. He recalled. Jobs tapped as a replacement. Jobs tapped as a replacement Debbie Coleman, the spunky but good-natured Macintosh financial officer who had once won the team's annual award for the person who best stood up to Jobs. But she knew how to cater to his whims when necessary. When Apple's art director Clement Mook informed her that Jobs wanted the walls to be pure white, she protested. You can't paint a factory pure white. There's going to be dust and stuff all over. Mook replied, "There's no white that's too white for Steve." She ended up going along with his pure white walls and his bright blue, yellow, and red machines. The factory floor like that looked like that looked like an Alexander Calder showcase," said Coleman. When asked about his obsessive concern about the look of the factory, Jobs said it was a way to ensure a passion for perfection. That's why they wasn't letting him run it. Because you're creative and everything like that, and then your creativeness is going all the way down to the manufacturing, and now you're looking like Charlie and the Charlie Factory, Willy and Wonka Land, Willy Wonka, and the Oompa Loompas, and it's a place that you just get lost in. You never make it out. So that's why he wasn't. They was trying to make sure Scully was taking care of him, but Jobs and woo 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 got Scully on his side, let him take control and everything like that. But just a little quick one. Day 6 of it becoming more well read. Um, Late one as well. I need to start doing these a little bit more earlier. Um, but yeah, man, if you're trying to read more, just feel free to pull up a chair and just tap in with me, man. Peace.